I am so excited for this episode because it is launching a brand new segment called Listeners Questions Answered. We might as well just dive right in. Welcome to the Intuitive Eating Mama podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer D'Amato. I am an intuitive eating counselor and I'm also a mom to four. This podcast is not just for mamas, it's for all women who are ready to ditch diets, ditch the scale and food guilt forever, and instead invite peace with food, increase their body trust, and confidence in all of her choices. I believe this show is going to shed some light on sneaky ways diet culture has infiltrated your thoughts, your family, and your well-being. No matter the episode, I want you to walk away feeling informed, inspired, and encouraged. So whether you're taking a walk, washing the dishes, or carting kids around, let's dive into the latest episode on the Intuitive Eating Mama podcast. A couple weeks ago, I announced on Instagram in my stories that I was doing this new segment, Listeners Questions Answered, and y'all showed up. Y'all had some questions, and I am going to be just incorporating this segment into the podcast for 2023 because there's a lot of questions, and I want to make sure that you get your answers. If you have not seen it, maybe we're not hanging out on Instagram. Like, let's fix that. Jennifer, oh my gosh, this is my own name and what just happened. I get a lot of feedback about how I laugh a lot on here at myself and that listeners enjoy that. And there you go. My own name. You'd think somebody would edit that out, but I'm not going to because this is real life. If we're not hanging out on Instagram, Jennifer _ intuitive eating life. And that underscore, is that little lower line. I changed the name a while back, and it's the best thing I ever did. All right. If you want to submit questions or a question to the podcast, all you need to do is go to www.theintuitiveeatingmama.com/pod question. That's one word, POD, and the word question. All you have to do, put in your name, some information with your question, and listen for an upcoming episode to get your answer. All right. Today we have a question from a listener. All I ask is first name, so hopefully you know this is yours because you submitted it probably a couple weeks ago now. But this is for a listener. Her name is Jill, and here's her question. Hey Jen, what do I do when friends and family judge what I eat? Whew, this one got me like right in the gut. I think most things do these days because I can't believe how we're still in a place in society that people still feel it's okay to insert opinions about freaking everything. I actually think, Jill and everyone listening, I actually think social media is to blame for this one. I really do. Now, it's not that people weren't inserting opinions before social media, but I really think because people have become so accustomed to just saying whatever behind a screen, behind their phone, and just putting their opinions out there, that it has kind of given them this idea that this is okay, this is socially acceptable, when it's really not. But I want to make sure I do address your question here and hopefully give you something that's helpful and tangible. Really what we're talking about here is setting boundaries. Whenever we're talking about somebody else inserting their opinion about what you're eating, we're talking about you setting boundaries. And those boundaries look different maybe in every situation, depending on, if it is friends, if it is family, it might look different depending on where you are. It might look like the boundary is not even being there, not even being in the space where those judgmental comments are coming. But that really is, when we're talking about judgment of others, we really are essentially talking about setting boundaries and setting boundaries that feel good to you, that are healthy for you, healthy for your mental and emotional well-being, I cannot get this word out. Healthy for your physical well being as well. So, when you're talking about setting boundaries, what does that look like? It could be a gentle reminder or a firm one. I mean, I don't know your personality. I know mine, and mine would be really firm. Mine would be sassy as well. But regardless, it can be gentle, it can be firm, but a reminder that what I eat is none of your business. And again, you can hear how that could come out really sassy, the Jen way, or how you could turn that into something gentle and say, hey, I just want to remind you here that what I'm eating doesn't have anything to do with you. It's not your business what I'm eating. And you don't need to interject that thing we sometimes do, like, hey, thanks, but no, there's no thank you here. There's no thanks. I'm not grateful. I'm not thankful you decided to insert your opinion. I'm just letting you know it's not acceptable to make one, to insert what you think here. So I do think that's a great approach to take, is to remind people, like, what I'm eating is none of your business. What I find most helpful in these situations where you know you're going to be around people who are judgmental, and maybe the boundary, you can't set that one of not being there, because that I think is always a good one. Always, always, always. Are they really people you want to be around if they're making judgmental comments about what you eat? And I would even say for someone like else listening, like what you're not eating, like any comments about food. If you have to be there, a great exercise I share is about like practicing. It's called mental rehearsal, but really it's a role play, a practice before you're there of possible ways you're going to respond. What happens in our brain is we've seen the situation again and again and again. So when the situation happens in real life, like it's in real time happening, you actually respond the way you want to. You don't feel caught off guard. You feel prepared. So, doing a mental rehearsal, a role play with yourself of, okay, these are things I know are said. How do I want to respond? And practice it. Even if your response is what I just shared, which is, what I'm eating is none of your business, practicing it. Kind of seeing yourself, close your eyes, see yourself in the situation, maybe with that individual or the people you're around. Maybe you can even picture the room that you're normally in, or maybe it is out at a restaurant, which, oh my gosh, I hope that's not happening when you're out at a restaurant. But wherever you are, actually picturing the situation, the people, the environment, maybe picturing the food that's there that you're eating and how you would respond. And give yourself some opportunity to respond in a couple of different ways. Maybe you want to try on my sass. Always a fan. But you can also respond in other ways. You can ignore. That is a response. You can completely ignore. And one thing I tap into my empathetic side. It's there, I promise. It's very strong in me. I wonder what that individual must be struggling with that they feel it's okay to say this out loud. What do they think about themselves? Oh my gosh. Like, what's not coming out of their mouth? Ooh, they must have some demons up there. They must have some real struggles with how they feel about themselves if they're going to project this out. That is an exercise that helps me when I'm in those situations where people might be making comments. I hope this gives you something to try on. Jill, I'm so sorry you're even in that situation where that's happening, but I think it's happening frequently to people. I think, again, social media has opened up this door over the last, 15 years? I'm not really even sure. I didn't always participate. Just for people to say whatever they're thinking. It's not even about not a filter. It's not even acknowledging humanity. Like, can we remember these are people? And what I'm choosing to eat is no one's business. It really has nothing to do with you. Maybe that reminder will be enough to stop the judgmental things from coming out of their mouth. All right. I hope this segment is a fun one for you. If you have questions, definitely head to the website /pod questions, submit yours. I'm excited because there's already so many that came in that I definitely will be putting these in every single month to be able to answer your questions. If there's so many coming in, I'll do it more than once, or at least make sure I fill them in. I don't want you to go too long without an answer. All right. Before I let you go on this beautiful day, I just have one thing to ask. If you have just a couple of minutes and you're listening on Apple, would you mind leaving a review? All you need to do is scroll down. There's a little 5-star, click on that. But you know what's really helpful to other women when they're looking for podcasts to listen to is if you leave a comment. If you actually type in just a few words on there, maybe it's a favorite episode, maybe it's just about me. Jen laughs at herself all the time and it's so great. But if you wouldn't mind leaving a review, because women are wondering, like, is this worth my time? Our time is precious. I feel that way. When I'm looking at new podcasts, I scroll down, I look at the ratings and reviews and be like, ooh, oh, this sounds good. Okay, I get it. And I tune in. So if you have a few moments, you're listening on Apple, if you would do that. I think Spotify has the ability to at least give stars if you're listening on Spotify. And I know I have a lot of listeners on YouTube. I am giving you all the love over there on YouTube as well. Thank you so much for listening and subscribing. All right, I can't wait to come back next week and share more with you right here on the Intuitive Eating Mama podcast.